Hello once again, good friends. Welcome, new subscribers. I'm Brian from Apex Detail. Today we're going to do yet another polisher review, and when I throw up polls to see which polisher is going to be next, the FLEX 3401 VRG always tops the list, so let's tackle that today. The polisher has been out for quite some time. There are hundreds of videos on the polisher. Yet the channel is geared for those just starting out. And if you're just starting out, how do you know the polisher even exists? So I'm going to review the polisher in great detail today for you. We're going to knock it out of the park, try to make this one of the best showcases for the particular polisher. I'm going to show you where it fits in, the line of polishers out there and available. We're going to take a look at it inside and out. Let's stop wasting time and get to it. First, let's discuss where the 3401 falls within the line of polishers and the power they can generate. And that will be directly in between the long throw dual action polishers and the rotary. Not quite the power of the rotary, because the rotary can generate a lot more speed within that direct drive. And more powerful than the dual action polishers, the long throw polishers, because of that forced drive or forced rotation. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. We have some marks on the foam pad here of the long throw dual action polisher, and as we start it, now that's a free spinning backing plate. As you can see, we can stop the rotation. It will oscillate, but the rotation stops with a bit of force or pressure on the backing plate and pad. This also happens on the vehicles a lot, and that's where you get more power generated from the 3401, where it will not let that happen and will drive through the curved areas on a surface or on a panel. The same pad attached to a rotary, and as you can see, forced rotation with no oscillation whatsoever, and that's where you generate a huge amount of power through the speed of the forced drive rotation. And finally, the same pad attached to the 3401, you have the oscillation and forced rotation together, and you're not going to stop the rotation because it's not free spinning. Now, where your research comes in and trying to figure out if a tool like this fits into your arsenal, you have the dual action polisher, which does some decent cutting, but finishes down further than the other two. You have the rotary polisher, which is more of a precision tool, a scalpel when it comes to cutting. However, if you do get some time behind the polisher and you master it, you can finish down with that one as well. So if you are a little skittish about the rotary polisher, but you want a tool that can both cut and do some finishing, this falls in between. And if you have one polisher that you'd want to pick from, if you can only have one polisher, you would want one that does all of those okay and not just one perfectly well on either side of the scale. And this is where this polisher would fall. Okay, time for the closer look segment of the video. The 3401, the FLEX 3401 VRG, is a German-made precision tool. A bit pricey at $420 average, depending on where you look. If you wait for AutoGeek to have their 25% off or any of the other sites, you'd be in good shape. It's quite pricey. We're going to talk about the price more and what I feel about it in the final thoughts segment of the video. But the polisher has been around since, from what I remember, somewhere around October of '03. It's a forced rotation drive and oscillation. It comes with the polisher itself. It comes with a bag, Allen key, brushes. It also comes with a 5.5-inch backing plate and comes with the grip here. The cord's about 10 foot long. We're going to take a look at that stuff later. However, it comes with a 1-year warranty. It has a 7-fold processor inside the unit that keeps an eye on constant speed, the variable constant speed by tachometer, keeping an eye on what pressure you have on the unit and keeping the speed up to where you have the dial indicator. It has a soft start. It has an accelerator switch, restart protection in case there's interruption from power to the unit while you're working it. It does have overload protection. It also has temperature monitoring sensors and also speed selection sensors. Within the unit, it also has what I call the smart carbon brushes. If the brushes get worn down too far before they get to an extreme point, it's going to shut the polisher down. So if the polisher stops on you, don't panic, don't throw it away. It could be something as simple as the brushes. Get it serviced or learn how to service it yourself, and you'll be back in business rather quickly. The spindle lock at the top here, like most of them have, has an 8mm throw. Variable speed, soft start switch with lock. Here is your speed dial. I would like personally to have some better tactical feedback. If you're wearing gloves, it's really kind of hard to tell where it locks into the speed. The butt of the cord here is nice and sturdy. We have the removable and adjustable handle. You can remove that and just hold on to the nose of the polisher if you want to. The shroud. And then we're going to take a look at, when we get to the inside segment of the video, a very important piece to maintain is going to be the felt ring around the gears. We'll get to that when we remove the backing plate. Comes with a 5.5-inch backing plate, hook and loop. You can order the conversion kits to fit 4-inch pads or larger pads, and they're going to range, again, somewhere between $30 and $40. Those are usually a 2-piece kit. The plastic is composite high-impact plastic, and the overall build of the unit is solid. And again, we're going to take a closer look when we get to the peek inside segment. When it comes to the dimensions, if you have the handle all the way forward, from the tip of that to the base where the cord comes out, you're looking at exactly 16 inches. Width, you're looking at just under 4 inches. Height, just under 5 inches. Weight of the polisher, a little over 6 pounds. That's hefty. So if you combine that with not being used to the reverse rotation on the force drive, if you're correcting a rather large car and have a lot of work to do, you're going to be a little gassed at the end of the day. Again, 8mm throw, RPM without load, 160 to 480. And when it comes to orbit rate, 3,200 to 9,600 at full speed. Okay, time for the peek inside segment of the video. You guys know I love to see what makes these things tick, and I'll take the hit on the warranty and open them up for you so you don't have to. We have an anti-static mat we're working on. This thing does have a processor, so caution is definitely key. Okay, with the backing plate off, that exposes the plastic gears, and now I can show you what makes this thing a direct drive. It's not a drive shaft that comes off of the main drive gear. It oscillates and slaps that backing plate up against the plastic ring gear on the outside of the shroud. And that spinning oscillation with the pressure of the plastic gear from the backing plate up against the plastic ring gear makes this thing drive. It gives it rotation, a forced rotation. As you can see here, that's what it looks like. The counterbalance, you can see how far that is offset from the center shaft. Quite different from some of the other polishers we have. That gives its balance as the polisher backing plate is oscillating and rotating. I'm going to show you how this differs from a rotary in just a few short minutes here. But first we want to take care of the felt ring that goes on the outside of the plastic ring gear. This rubs up against the backing plate, and you want to keep this lubricated. You want to do this before use, before every correction. If it's a long day, hey, during your lunch break, do it again. Doesn't take that long. Extends the length, the durability of your polisher. I'll use the Penetrol from Schaefer's. You could use any type of gear oil, any type of thin oil that's not too messy. You can put it on the backing plate itself. Now, I'm going to show you how you can turn this is a tip, into just a regular DA with a free spinning. Just pop out that plastic ring gear. Then you can put the backing plate back on, and it will oscillate without the rotation. It is a free spinning shaft that comes up through there. It's not like the rotary where the shaft is all one piece and it is forcing the backing plate to spin. You're going to see just in a few seconds here as I get the bolt back on and tight. You can run the machine, put your hand up against it, and it will stop spinning just like a regular DA. So that's just a tip that will give you more uses from the polisher with all the money you'll spend on it. So let's rip that back off again and continue to tear this thing down. The gearbox is protected by both the handle and the high impact plastic shroud that's held on by T25, one on each side. Unscrew those, slide off the handle and the plastic shroud in one piece, and that exposes everything, the metal casing. Right here, as with most polishers, rotary and DA, there's your spindle lock. Press that down. That locks everything in place, makes it easier for you to replace the backing plate. We have 4 T15 screws to remove. Then we can remove the shroud and the gear all in one shot, and that exposes the main drive gear and the grease that we will replace. And as usual, we always want to be careful removing the spindle gear. As you can see, this is very similar to most of the other polishers that we do a grease swap. Right there's the main drive gear. We're going to use Citral 266 and clean everything up and repack it with some lithium moisture-resistant high-temp grease. Okay, we have everything cleaned up. We have everything packed up with some moisture-resistant high-temp grease. For those asking, Wolf Head Red Lithium is absolutely perfect. So we can get everything back together here. Nice and easy. Slide the handle back on. Get the ring gear back in. Backing plate back on. And we have the working end of the 3401 maintained, lubed again, and now we'll take a look at what I call the central nervous system of the polisher back here at this end. Okay, we have 3 T15 screws, pan head screws that we need to remove that will let us separate the high impact plastic around the handle and the trigger. Be very careful. Sometimes there's wires that are secured against the inside of the casing. You don't want to rip those apart. So pull it apart slow, peek inside, make sure there's nothing holding it together, and then you can finally remove it completely. Okay, with that out of the way, that exposes everything in the nervous system and the portion that runs this polisher. The wiring management, nice and tight, nice and clean. The trigger assembly, high quality. I see one exposed wire that I could clean up a little bit later, but there we have the PCB that is coated. Coated PCB fights off moisture, keeps the temperature down, keeps dust off of the processor itself. And yeah, everything in here high quality. You have the brushes, what I call the smart carbon brushes right there. All you have to do, there's one on each side. All you have to do is unplug it. There's a spring on top. Lift the spring, flip it over, pull out the carbon brush, replace it, let the spring flip back over, plug in the brush, and you're good to go. The carbon brush has a sensor. Once it wears down and gets worn too thin, it triggers the system to shut down. So if your polisher shuts down one day right in the middle of a correction, hey, it may not be a huge deal. You just need to give it a tune-up, change the brushes, get back to work. Okay, that'll do it. Let's get this thing back together. Make sure you're not pinching any wires in there. Replace the T15s. Tighten it up. Button it up. Okay, we have everything back together. Serviced, maintained. Now let's get to work. Okay, when it comes to operation, most of my other polishers, I'm going to operate them around the 3rd speed setting. But because of the way this thing is geared up, it's optimum speed for the least amount of vibration and the most amount of correction without the area getting too hot is going to be around the 4th speed setting. And if I have a trash panel, I might jack it up to 4.5, but it's not going to go much higher than that. There's no need to build up heat in this little area and put stress on the clear coat. 4.5 is absolutely fine. Another thing, operation. If you're not used to the polisher, you just bought it, you don't have muscle memory for it, it might wear you out the first correction or two. Keep the pad flat on the panel. Tilt it to the left, to the right, up or down, it's going to walk away from you. It's going to walk on you. And you're going to be exerting a lot of energy to keep the polisher flat and operated correctly. Most of the time it's going to be 2 passes, crisscross pattern, left to right, up and down, and that is absolutely enough clear coat removed to go after whatever you need to. A short demonstration. Again, you can keep the handle on here, you can remove it and just operate it cupping the tip of the polisher, the plastic shroud here. I like it with the handle on all the way forward. Soft start, so you can have the speed position wherever you want it. You could put it on 4 right away and another thing that's key to operating the polisher at optimum speed and correction power is pressure. You don't need a ton of pressure. The more pressure you apply, yeah, absolutely, you're going to be digging into the clear coat and causing more heat, but you're also going to make the polisher hard to handle and give it, again, another chance to walk away on you. You're going to be absolutely wrecked by the time you get a large correction done. So keep it flat. Keep the speed around 4, 4.5, and keep pressure like just equivalent to maybe a firm handshake. Something I want to show you and that you can keep in mind, coming into the curve or contour of a panel, the DA polishers are going to stall. That's good and bad. Good for the novice so they don't get into trouble. Bad for those that they know their way around the polisher but they want to do some serious correction. That's where this would come into play as you're coming into the curve or the contour of a panel. It's going to keep on driving, but then keep in mind that's something you have to adjust to as you're coming up through the curve and keep the polisher going without plowing into the surface of the clear coming into the curve. And that's where you adjust your pressure and the leveling of the polisher, but you took notice there was no stall whatsoever as you come up into the curve itself. Just a very small example of what this thing can do for you. GM Clearcoat and can be stubborn. So this type of a polisher with the right pad and the right compound is going to be key to getting around it rather quickly and keeping it profitable. So I have a small area masked off, and as you can see, there's stains, scratches, love marks, you name it. I have a microfiber cutting pad attached to it, cutting compound. Lake Country, McGuire's, they make some of the best pads to team up with this polisher and backing plate system. One thing important to keep in mind, this polisher is going to be very smooth. It's going to be quiet compared to other polishers. Definitely the odd size and shape of the backing plate. Make sure your pads are on straight and centered so it doesn't give you any type of wobble. I don't have this one on perfectly centered. It gives me a little bit of a wobble. That's not the polisher's fault. That is the user's fault. Just keep that in mind. That's going to do it. Remove the tape. It's going to be very rare that I do a second pass. This has been repainted. There's plenty of clear coat. So there are some real deep scratches that remain. I might go after them. We'll see how I feel about it. But for the most part, if you have a daily driver and you know, the clear coat is going to be thin to begin with, the car is going to be out for long periods of time in the sunlight. You don't want to go crazy with it. One pass, crisscross pattern, should be enough. So as we come in and take a look, that's what the 3401 can do on stubborn clear. Okay, time for the final thoughts segment of the video. Where does this polisher stand? Well, of course, in between the rotary and the long throw polishers that I showed you. Do you absolutely need it? You know, that's a tough call, and you're going to have to do your research on that. If there is just one polisher I could pick to take care of anything, it would be something like this. I showed you how to change it from a direct drive into just a free spinning orbital polisher to get the most out of it, get the biggest bang for your buck. And let's get to that price. For the price of $420, and I know it has the processor that keeps an eye on absolutely everything, but for $420 it better whisper sweet nothings into your ear and give you a quick So there are other options out there, guys. The Makita 5000 CV2, the SPTA 5-inch polisher, the Eccentric is also direct drive, and of course the Roops Miele. That's going to be another mortgage payment for you there as well. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate. Brian from Apex Detail. Till the next video, have a good one.